Hi everyone, welcome back. This first session is going to focus on how to interpret the different cards. So what skills and things to bring to looking at the cards before you even look at the meaning to help you determine the meaning of the card. Okay, so this is all about keeping it very simple. So this is really an aid to help you be able to interpret any card that comes your way, and even if you don't know what the card means, to give you an in to that card so you can bring some meaning from it, and that can be very simple. So the first tool I want to have a look at is really the use of color, and just by associating some meanings to colors, and when you look at the cards, to have that be the first thing that you look at. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is either write down your own meanings that you have to colors, because remember, this is very much about not being a tarot reader exactly the way I'm a tarot reader, but to be your own type of tarot reader. And I'm just going to facilitate your own tools and ways of doing that so you can be the best tarot reader that you can be. So it's not about creating another me, it's about creating you. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is write down these different colors. I'd like you to write down red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, white, and black. And for each of those colors, I'd just like you to assign a meaning. And the way I'm talking about this is, for instance, for red, I would say passion, I would say anger, I would say love, I'd say fire, and those would be my top four. For orange, I would say warmth, relaxation. For yellow, it could be happiness, joy, control. Green could be peace, calm, love. My associations with blue are very much about comfort, peace of mind, and communication. Purple is about psychic things, intuitive things, otherworldly knowledge. Pink is spirit, is love, romance, infatuation. Again, white can be spirit, can be purity, clarity, and then finally black can be heaviness, darkness, feeling trapped or bound, and earth. So those are the main associations that I have with color. So if you don't know a card and you're reading for yourself or with someone, and you can do a color reading for yourself using the tarot, and that way you have a fail-safe way of just getting something from it. So you choose a card for yourself. The card is yellow and blue. You can think of the energy as being happy and relaxed, or you can think of the card as control, the way you communicate, or you can think of the card as serene joy. And this is where your intuition starts to come in. Whatever one of those meanings feels right, or sounds right, or you know is right, that's the meaning for you. And it's as easy as that. So you just listen to your internal guidance system, and you just choose what's right for you. The next the next way to assign meaning to this are people that are in the decks. Now, people are just, going to be people, but you've got, first of all, in very basic terms, you've got female and male. And this is very, you think about archetypes with these cards, you think about the symbols. A male traditionally will represent strength, it will represent action, it will represent will, and doing things a certain way. Feminine energy will represent more nurturing, it will represent receptivity. It will often represent gentleness, caring, and those are the kind of key words that you can think about when you look at the different cards. If you're not familiar with the card, if you see a female figure there, those are the kind of top keywords that you can use straight away. Now, the next thing is the people are going to be of different ages. So if the male or female is someone young, you can look at the energy of newness or inexperience or going into something without considering it very much because it's new. Young people often don't know exactly all the ins and outs of things, and you can apply that to the card. Sort of an adult figure can be in the fullness of that energy. So a man in his 30s or 40s can be about will, about getting things done, about going out there and doing things. And same thing for the female. Being really nurturing, being receptive to things, being aware of the environment, all those things. And then old age. So if the figure is obviously older, then you look at that energy as coming to a completion or easing off. So you could, with an old male figure, for example, you could say that the ego or the will is starting to dissipate, to abate. Okay? And that's a really nice tool, again, to just give you a hook into each card. So you've got color and people now. The next thing is images. And images are very important because we're going into the realm of signs and symbols now. And I think the reason the tarot is so popular and is so, has survived through the centuries where it's come from and is so usable today is because we live in a society where we're constantly bombarded with images. You know, the advertisements on television, bus on the sides of buses, in magazines, on shoes, on clothing, logos, brands, symbols, all of those things we're very, very used to, and we're very familiar with this. So if you're a driver, you have to read all the street symbols, and it's something as a society we've become used to and we're very good at. Okay, so the way to do it in terms of the cards is if you look at the images and you think about what that represents. Okay, so you've got an image of a lion, for instance. So very simply, a lion would represent danger, it would represent strength, and it would represent the exotic. If you've got a tree, you think about the things that trees mean to you. And again, this isn't about creating another duplicate version of me, but it's about the association you have with things and what they mean to you. And you've really got to start thinking very literally about things. So if you've got a tree, you could think about nature, you could think about healing, communication with the earth, and real peace. That's what trees mean to me. Whatever they mean to you, you give that representation to. And what's really useful here is you're not going to have a meaning for everything. So for instance, a swan. I wouldn't know what a swan is representative of. I would think of a swan as possibly royalty or elegance. But really, I have no social framework for that. That's just what it means to me. So it's about tuning into yourself and what certain things mean to you and becoming someone who thinks about symbols. And there's something interesting that there's actually a science of symbols. It's called semiotics. And that's really what symbols represent. So you could have a look at that. But what's also really, really wonderful and really useful are things like dream interpretation, because they assign a meaning to every object, to every kind of physical thing on this planet. And the more of these you get used to and the more of them you become familiar with, the more of a reference library you have in your own mind. Then when the cards come out and they want to give you a message, the cards will know what will give you a meaning. So if the cards want to let you know that you should tell the person you're reading for that they will be very happy, and the only symbol that you have for happy is yellow, they will bring out a card that's covered in yellow. So it's fine. But if you want to expand things and make things more complicated, so if you want to express the word unease and the cards don't have anything for unease, then it's good, if you know that, to add depth to your own readings. So have a look at, you don't need to buy anything, you can Google dream interpretation. You can keep a diary of your own dreams. You can look around and just think what certain things mean to you when you're out and about every day. But really, it's about building a kind of reference library for yourself. And if you do keep a dream journal, and if you dream about a certain thing, you can write that down, you can go to Google, you can say, what does a raven mean in dream interpretation? You'll get your meaning, and you can reference that in your mind. And then when a raven comes up in the tarot card, you can use that meaning. Or you can expand on it, or you can alter it. But it's really having access to signs, okay? So, the next really example I would give is a sword would be, it's a sword is sharp, that's how I see it, and it's helpful in cutting things away. So it's a forceful act of will, and it's something that's strong that you can't argue with. A horse is something that's irrational and that's very easily scared and frightened. And I have all these kind of associations with different things, but I'm not alone there. Most people will. And it's just becoming very clear and thinking about things as objects rather than engaging with them. So yeah, assigning meaning to everything that comes your way. Okay. So the next thing that's important, that's going to come up a lot in the tarot cards, are another symbol, and these are very specific symbols that I can actually give you the meanings for. And the cards work with the elements. They work with fire, they work with earth, they work with air, and they work with water. So fire is represented as wands, and we'll get into this in more detail when we do the minor arcana. Earth is represented by pentacles or coins, air is represented by swords, and water is represented by cups. And each one of these elements means something. Fire means passion, it means desire, it means creativity, it means growth, and it means cleansing. And again, when you're doing a reading, whatever of those 5 meanings works for you at that time, that's the one that should come across. So it has certain meanings associated with it. Earth is about strength, it's about consistency, because earth doesn't move. Again, be very literal. Earth is solid, it's strong, and it hates change. If you want earth to change, you've got to get a digger and move it. It's not going to move by itself. So it's very much thinking along very practical terms to give you the meanings here. And this isn't something you don't have to reinvent the wheel to be able to do this. You live on this planet, you know what these things mean already. Air is about change. It's quick, it's light, it's to do with thoughts, it's to do with ideas, and it's to do with travel, because it moves very quickly and it's light and it's never in the same place. And then finally, water. Water has to do with the emotions, has to do with feelings, has to do with love, romance, kindness, and the intuition. So psychic ability is represented by water. So those are the very elementary symbols that I'd like you to become familiar with, to really start to research and bring into your daily life and really start to think of as objective, tangible symbols that you can use in these readings. And those are really going to serve you and really help you a long way in terms of doing this work. So if you forget a meaning of a card, don't worry. Don't panic, and I think that's really, and that's what I want to reassure you of. I think that's the main thing that puts people off doing these readings, is because they feel that they're going to draw a blank, they're going to panic, they're going to have no nothing to say to the other person and they're going to look silly. But with these basic hooks, you can always say something. So let's say you've got a yellow horse. You could say that things are moving and they're looking positive, they're looking happy. And you can keep it as simple as that, and you'll always have a good meaning to give to someone. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to have a look at the major arcana. We're going to start having a look at some of these cards and what they mean. And I'm going to take you through the Fool's Journey and what he experiences, and really some of the big themes that are covered by the tarot and why it's so wonderful. So I'll see you in the next video.